Yo, what's up, guys? Joker bringing you another video for the 3.25 Settlers of Kalguur League. So, at this point, we have 3 days until league launch, and I am still undecided on my league starter. It's going to be one of these 9 builds. And I mean, the people that have voted on this are pretty much just as undecided as I am. So I'm going to give it like until tomorrow night. And after the upload of this video, if you want to get your vote in, and then I'm going to do the vote on should it be like the elemental hit, the kinetic blast, or the lightning strike, the cleave of rage, right? I do it every league because I'm more of a go with the flow type of person. I don't like planning it, and it's why I don't make build guides because I literally make this shit up as I go. Like I force builds to work just pretty much based on playtime and currency. I don't really plan anything out. But I wanted to go ahead and go over this 30,000 patch word, 30,000 a word patch note that we got the other day. And since it is so much and I want to keep this video relatively short, I am just going to be speed running a ton of shit. I do apologize, but let's go. So, melee totems went ahead and they have been removed from the game. Previously, melee builds really only worked with totems. You had to have an ancestral war chief and an ancestral protector down like 100% of the time while spec'd into Panopticon to really get any melee build to work. They made this better by just giving every melee skill a shit ton of damage. They all but removed banners from the game because now they go ahead and have to be placed. They no longer just give you a static aura. So now rip banners, dude. I don't know anyone who's really gonna want to have an additional button to press. They went ahead and they reworked Rage, right? And they changed Berserk essentially because too many builds were using it that weren't melee builds is what I'm going with, right? Because the way that they made Rage now, it's essentially you can literally only benefit from it if you are a melee build, and you really only benefit it from it the most if you are a berserker. Other classes can use it, but it's less advantageous, right? The reason why Berserker still benefits is because you get every rage also grants 1% attack speed. So when you have Rite of Ruin giving you 50% increased rage effect, for every one rage, you're getting 1.5% attack speed. Attack speed. I'm sorry, 1 second. So you're going to have 45% increased attack speed by being a berserker with base max rage, right? If you go ahead and take a look at some of the rage nodes on the tree, you have a couple of easy access points over here in the Marauder zone. You have the plus 10 right here. You have the +5 somewhere around here. It's over here, right? Yeah, +5 right there. So if you add that 15, then you're going to be at 45% rage, and you're going to be getting what, 1.5 times 45, 67% attack speed and more damage. So you won't even have to take Aspect of Carnage at that point on the Berserker anymore. So you're going to be able to just get pretty much free Aspect of Carnage just by being a Berserker, and you don't even have to have the downside of the 10% increased damage taken. If you do still choose to go Aspect of Carnage, then with those nodes, which let me map this out real quick. How many points would this actually cost you if you go Berserker and then you go like this? I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be that many at all. Yeah, it's literally 20 points to pretty much get 100% increased damage, right? So I'm sorry, 100% more, not increased, 100% more damage on Berserker for 22 points. That's kind of insane in my opinion. That's actually probably what my starting tree is relatively going to look like, right? Because if I do start with any of these skills, right, ground slam, cleave, or glacial hammer, I'm going to need the attack speed. Mainly the attack speed, not even I'm all mainly the attack speed, not even the aspect of carnage, right? So it would pretty much be my first ascendancy, because the main downside to Glacial Hammer is it's slow and clunky feeling. Main downside to Cleave was really slow, and then main downside to Ground Slam is it's a slam. But I never play slams as slams. I play them as attack speed characters because I fucking hate attacking slow. Like I had a elemental attack speed raider ground slam character I played a while back that was super fun. But that's for another day. Like it was super fun just because I was one with nothing too. So I was literally just pounding the ground, and I got to the point when I was just stun locking fucking Shaper and Elder. It was fucking hilarious. But yeah, let us move on. So besides the rage rework, we have a sixth map device slot. Map device. Let's go up here. Please go to, there we go, which is really going to be your fifth slot because you are going to do a 10-way way before you do a T17 map, or at the very least before you pay for a T17 carry. So your fifth map slot device, your fifth map device slot, there we go, now comes much earlier because you get it from a static 10-way, which you have to do to get to Maven anyway, so it's a part of the natural progression. Then we have the ability of scrying maps with Nameless Seer. This moves your div cards from one map to another one. Think like Defiled Cathedral and Crimson Temple. You move those and you put those div cards on Atoll or Strand or Beach. Some of those are bad examples because they drop the Fortunate and you really wouldn't want to replace them with that, but you potentially could, right? Then we have Sentinels at the start of a map. So Sentinels, if you missed Sentinel League, it's a little robot that shoots a beam that juices mobs, making them strong. It's a lot like Affliction, right? Sentinel empowerment and Wisp empowerment is relatively similar. I feel like part of the reason why they removed item quantity, which is something that we did that I'm going to get into in a minute, but is because it would have been too strong to have Sentinel, Wisp, and Magic Find. I feel like that would have just been too strong. So they did have to go ahead and get rid of it. And people bitched about Magic Find anyway. So they figured people want Sentinel back, people want Wisp back. We'll just get rid of the thing that people are complaining about. So that's why they most likely did that. But now there can be a Sentinel at the start of your map, and it works exactly the same way as it worked in Sentinel. The only thing that I have a question about is Apex Sentinels. They usually only worked on bosses, and a lot of the power from Sentinel did come from the Sentinel skill tree. So I don't know how strong this is going to be, but Sentinel is back. It does not drop recombinators, however, because recombinators now come from um, recombination now comes from the settlers of Kalguur League. The league that everybody hated, Lake of Kalandra. The Reflecting Mist is a itemized thing that can drop now. So that's pretty cool. Doriani's builds are probably pretty strong. Doriani's prototype, because now you can go massively negative in lightning res. Scarabs and chisels. now work on the map drop system. So you're going to be dropping a lot of scarabs and a lot of chisels, like way, 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 way more, as well as you're going to be dropping way more maps because now mobs from additional content that didn't drop maps previously are going to drop maps. On top of that, they added a bunch of different types of chisels. There's the avarice, the divination, procurement, profanity, scarabs, right? So we have a currency, a div card, rarity, pack size, scarab. Essentially, what this is going to be ranked is div card is probably going to be number one, currency is going to be number two, scarabs is going to be number three, pack size is going to be number four, and item rarity is going to be number five because item rarity is not going to be that great since they kind of killed our quantity. So the ability to drop a unique is going to be higher, but you're going to be dropping less items overall. So I don't, maybe I'm wrong on this, right? I've always been hazy on item rarity. Up until a couple of leagues ago when I did my first Magic Find character, I really didn't even know about item rarity. I thought it did something better than it did. Uh, from my understanding, it literally just like upgrades the items, right? If you drop a rare, it's potentially going to drop as a unique instead. Then we have the scarab. No, my next note says Cardo scarabs. So let's go to Cardo scarab. Cardo Scarab now provides 10% increased maps found in each area. I feel like this is going, I'm sorry, it now provides 10% increased maps found in each area for each map modifier affecting the area. Let me finish reading the line, right? So the reason why I feel like this is going to be really, really strong is because of the fact that if you have like an 8 mod map, that's 80% increased maps. And if you use what is it? The node that gives you, hold up, singular focus. Sorry, it's been a while since I played the league. Also, this is not my Atlas tree. Don't copy this. But singular focus, I feel like paired with the Cardo Scarab of escalation and 8 modded maps is going to be just like pseudo 80% more currency dropped in the maps. Plus, with the chisels that have it drop more currency, I think you may be able to ham that really well, right? So, moving on, we have ritual scarabs being my next note. You can now have a scarab, a ritual scarab of the wisp, which goes ahead and gives you 50% increased tribute gained while doing that ritual. So I feel like this is going to be really good because the rewards from ritual scale with the amount of juice that you dump that you get, right? The reward scale. That's why you want to use like blood filled vessels and shit like that normally, which now you totally can. You have enough slots to use this scarab and 4 blood-filled vessels, and you're probably going to get like an insane amount of fucking loot. Like ritual is probably my starting strategy because of how strong it's going to be, because there is a lot of new bases, reworked bases as well, right? We have things like the Pensitant Mask, which now is +4 to maximum chaos res. And then we have the, where are they? We have the Debilitation Gauntlets and Brimstone Treads, which are extra max block, but you do take a percent of it. So it's like glancing blows, kind of. But how this is going to benefit you with the changes to block is you can literally just get a shield that says recover X amount of life on block, and that will totally negate this from even being a thing. So instead of being as bad at, well, glancing blows isn't bad, it's still really really good, but instead of having you take the 65% damage, you're going to be able to get pretty much 10% max block. I believe it's somewhere around 10%. Let me read again. So, yeah, you get 6% here. Yeah, 10 to 11% max block and just take 30% damage. So that being paired with the new gladiator, as well as some of the new block nodes, you're going to be able to get max block. And if you pair that with like spell suppression, max resistance, some of the new endurance charges, your fortification, you're going to be essentially immortal, right? Um, they did go ahead and I'm not there yet, so I'm not going to mention it yet. T17s did get nerfed. Pretty much the reason why, from what I understand, is somehow without communicating, T17s got buffed by two separate mods. Um, no idea, mods, two staff members, I guess would be the better phrasing. No idea how they were able to separately buff the maps, the T17s, without communicating with each other, but essentially, apparently that's what happened, is they both buffed it without communicating it with each other. Ultimatum actually got a huge buff for a number of reasons. Ultimatum now has loot dropping once again. And on top of that, monster quantity. There we go. And on top of that, they specifically say the harder a challenge is, the more loot that they want the monsters to drop, right? So with something like Ultimatum, if you're able to make it all the way to the last wave, wave 10 slash wave 15, then you're going to probably get an insane amount of loot. Back to basics got removed, so that sucks for the non-existing magic finders, because you can't magic find anymore. The league monster item and rarity changed, like I just showed. Magic find got killed. I mentioned that previously. Item quantity got removed from every item in the game, so you can no longer magic find. Divine Blessing went ahead and also, you know what? I'm going to just type blessing. Got removed. So Eldridge battery builds and any build that used Divine Blessing literally lost an aura. Then we have skill specific attack types. So like Elemental Hit of the Spectrum is a ranged attack. It can only be used with bows, and elemental hit is a melee weapon, right? Well, I guess you can use elemental hit of the spectrum with a wand too, which might actually be pretty strong with the wand buffs. Wands got buffed, by the way. They nerfed grace, determination, and hatred. So that was interesting. Let me go here. So we go grace, and they nerfed it like by 50% on grace and determination. So now, instead of it being something that was like 100% of the time you want to take grace and determination, now you're better off specking into some other options, potentially block, fortification, spell suppression is still king, actually. But yeah. And then hatred. Hatred got a nerf. Catching a stray over here no longer causes you and nearby allies to deal more cold damage. You and nearby allies now gain 30% of physical damage as extra cold. At 30% as opposed to 16. So they hit this relatively hard by taking away the more damage and just increasing the fizz as extra, which, I mean, that is a relatively large nerf to hatred. Inspiration got changed, and I don't know how this is going to work because the wording on the gym is relatively weird. They actually did reveal the gym. Let me go grab that real quick. So now inspiration has 39% less mana cost as opposed to 39% reduced. So I'm going to need to wait for someone much smarter than myself that knows a lot more about the wording of skill gems in Path of Exile to see if this is a nerf or a buff to inspiration. Off the top of my head, I feel like it's a nerf because you would socket inspiration into uh divine blessing skill setups. That way it would be easier for you to cast those, right? As well as you would use it, well, I mean, you would still use it for its core purpose of the extra crit, right? But I need someone to tell me if it's a buff or a nerf that it's just less mana now as opposed to reduced. I feel like it's a nerf because of the fact that it doesn't seem like they'd buff inspiration, because inspiration was already like one of the core skill gems in almost any elemental crit build. And then we have champion uh getting nerfed because I guess GGG just doesn't like champions. With what they changed to the champion and what they did to banners, I don't know why you would play champion now. There's just so many better ascendancies that would do the same thing significantly better. So champion is now going to be the least played ascendancy. That's cool. The adorned got nerfed. So let me go down to the adorned. And it got nerfed pretty heavily, actually. So previously, the Adorned gave 50 to 150%. Now it's 0 to 100. So they nerfed it by 50% flat at the top end and I guess 50% down. So they pseudo murdered Adorned. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still incredibly strong and a lot of end game builds are probably still going to use it, but with this nerf, what it does is it locks every casual player out of using Adorned, because previously you really needed a at least 100% Adorned to take effect, to like get an effective use out of it. Now that it is 100% max, it makes me feel a lot better about my 141% one that's going into standard. Like now that's in legacy item. That's actually going to be worth probably quite a bit. But they went ahead and yeah, they hit Adorned hard, which makes sense. They also hit Defiance of Destiny pretty hard, which once again, it was the strongest defensive amulet in the game. It was just so good. And they went ahead and they nerfed it by what, 15%? Gross. So they really had something against these two items. They did buff the taming, however, which now makes it a necessity, or at the very least, a really good item for any elemental build, right? Because 30 to 40% increased elemental damage with hits and ailments for each type of elemental ailment on an enemy. Previously, people were thinking with the new warden and the new shock that the warden gives, it was going to be like 1,000% increased damage or something crazy like that. Um, they nerfed it quite a lot to make it so it doesn't do that, but it is still incredibly strong because at baseline on any warden build, you're most likely going to be using Trinity, which means that you're going to be getting 90 to 120% LE damage on top of the 28 to 40 all res and the free shock and ignite chance. And if you use any alt ailment, then you are just going to get more. I feel like early and mid game, taming is now a go to best in slot for any elemental build, right? Like early and mid game, this is literally best in slot because it just gives you everything besides life. Like if this had life on it, it would be overtuned, but it's just it's so good, right? I feel like it is, like I said, a go-to, you have to grab this type thing. Uh quality on items is now multiplicative instead of additive. So let me go ahead and pull up an example of that for you of how that works. So where you had like 20% or 30% quality on a weapon or armor, it used to be additive, now it's multiplicative. So let me get an example for you. So I guess shout out to Twink Big Duda on on the response to the quality announcement on Path of Exile's Twitter, but he went ahead and he typed down a example, right? Previously, it would be the base plus what was on the armor plus the quality, right? But now it's multiplicative. So now it is going to be the base plus the quality, I'm sorry, the base plus the modifiers, and then wait. I said that wrong. Hang on. Why am I not reading this right? Okay, there we go. 20% from total as opposed to 20% from base. I wait. That doesn't sound right. I just clicked the first comment that said it. I'm going to go double check. Okay, let me go ahead and just explain it the way that I understand it, since that comment read really weird. So, previously, how quality worked is you would get 20% of the base and it would be added onto it, right? So, Astral Plate, 782 armor. If you gave that 20% quality previously, it would go ahead and go 782 times 20 and plus 7. Okay, so it would be 938. Now you're going to see something here real quick. Since it is, I believe the POB I have is updated, 938, right? That would be the additive that you got previously. How the new multiplicative is going to work is it's going to be working off of the total. So what it is going to do is it's going to be on a good crafted item. It's going to be 20% of that number, right? So if we go ahead and remove the quality here so you can see it as an example, 1491, if we add the 20% quality, then it is going to go to 1790 as opposed to just adding the 156. So previously, you would have had 1,647 armor on your astral plate. Now you would have 1,790. So this is going to be something that does not impact the lower tier as much as it does the mid and late game. This is going to mainly impact crafted items. This is not going to really do anything super early on. Hence why they made it easier for you to get quality on items earlier on, is because quality early game is not going to be doing as much as it did late game. But yeah, if you have a well crafted item, it is going to be significantly stronger. And that's why they nerfed determination, right? Because it would have been like out of control otherwise. But yeah, that's pretty much my understanding of it, of where it's now multiplicative instead of additive. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Last thing I want to go over, make sure you go vote. Only going to have this up for another day, and then I'm going to break it down to whatever show's winning. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future content. And this video took way too fucking long. But until next time, take care.